Hey, just setting up a little bit. As always, for my live streams, you know that. That works already. That's also good. How are you doing all together? Hey there, just setting up. Takes 2 minutes more or 5 minutes. Hey there, just setting up. Enjoy the music a little bit in the meantime. Enjoy the music a little bit in the meantime. Thanks for the subscription. Thanks for the subscription. Nice to have you all here. So let's see if we can upgrade Flutter in the meantime, or if there's any upgrade, pay or package, what we have to do. Flutter in the meantime, or if there's any upgrade, pay or package, what we have to do. How are you doing all together? Had a good start in the week? I mean, it's Tuesday now. Had a good start in the week? I mean, it's Tuesday now. I added now also the GitHub link down in the video description. So many subscribers. Hey everyone. Believe me, I take a lot of free time. Today I had waffles this afternoon, so that's why we have a late stream today. But you're right, of course I have to enjoy the week. On the other side, if you talk with the community, have some questions and help everyone, it is a pretty good feeling, so I really enjoy that. So that's why I'm also happy to stream all the time. Which brings me to the point, I didn't check yesterday what the name for our project should be. I have to check that once more. Maybe someone has written something else. Actually, I think Flashcard was the winner until now. All new. Hey Bima, great from Nepal. That's the best part about live streaming. You get people all from all over the world. So all new. Flutter Flash. Flashetta. And what was the other name? Flutter Flash. Flash Store was on the naming list. So let's try out if I can create a new poll inside of the chat. Invalid poll options. Okay, unlucky. Oh, new. From Ukraine, also a great country. Very sorry that you had so much troubles at the moment with Russia. Was it Flashcard, Flash Store, and Flutter Flash? Yes. Meh. Okay, I nearly got a poll ready with Nightbot. Okay, as you can see, I still have my troubles with all the tools that we are using. So that will be a topic for the next stream, I guess. So then let's head over and get going. And maybe make the introduction. I can keep off the text. So, all right. So, you coming from yesterday, if you have not heard from this Flutter live stream that I'm doing at the moment, so we want to create a flashcard project where we want to use Google Spreadsheets as a database, more or less, where we can enter our flashcards, like the hint and the result. And when we tap inside of the flashcard or swipe it to the left or the right, then we want to make it accepted or not accepted. And we would like to take a special algorithm to learn these features. So that was the very short part. Down in the video description, you will find the link to the open source project, which will be completely open source. So whenever you want, you can check it out and also help me. And if you have ideas how to improve it, we can also create issues and things like that. And I will try to implement everything. We will talk about, for example, Google APIs, and I have to make it a little bit silent. Way better. So, and we will talk a bit about Google APIs, how we can integrate Google Spreadsheets, for example, what we have done so far, and we will try to always write some tests for our logic. So that will be meaning that we create also some tests during the run. In the meantime, I will also answer your questions as good as possible. And if I don't have an answer yet, maybe I will prepare it for tomorrow so we can take it also with me. Yeah, as I said, you can always check out the GitHub repo, check out the issues if you have some. And yeah, what we have done so far, maybe we can have a look there. So I will switch quickly the screen. So, and yeah. What we have done yesterday is if we go to our project at the moment, so our minimal viable product, we want to have read CSV files and generate one card out of it. And I have already opened the Android Studio for it. And what we did is we have created a CSV file locally on our system. And what we did was just reading this one out. So the reason why we want to take a CSV file is because Google Spreadsheets can export CSV files. And the benefit of a CSV file is that nearly everyone understands how to use it and can create his own CSV files. So the idea would be that we, with the folder structure, we create like cards that you can tap. So you have like, you want to learn English as a course, you tap it and then you get the lesson 1. So if we have lesson 2 or 3 or 4, then it's automatically created a list for these different lessons that you want to learn. I didn't have thought yet about an algorithm, so we also have to take that in consideration, because what we want to do is we want to make it easy to learn. So I don't know if you know this flashcard system, but we can Google for that algorithm, because there is a very interesting, the spaced repetition is it? And if we take a look into that, then we can see if we have 5 boxes for our flashcards usually, and each flashcard will move one further. So when I know something from the box 1, it goes to box 2 and will be not that often visible for us. If it moved then to 3, then we know it even better, and it getting moved further to 4 and to 5. And if it's in 5, we will rarely see our questions anymore. But if I answer it wrong and I don't know it anymore, then we want to go back to one box beforehand. This is quite an easy algorithm, but you can of course make it difficult, complicated, because I think there are already some of these flashcard systems which has a very complex, different ideas about it. And it's good to read through that, and I maybe will do that also in one of my works. And as you can see, Anki is, for example, one provider for this questions answer systems with a very good algorithm. The reason why I want to create it myself is because I think it should be open source and free and accessible for everyone, because I as a student didn't have money to invest really in such a tool. And I think if we all work together on something like that, it would be amazing for every student who wants to learn something to download a Flutter app. Also, that is like the purpose of YouTube, to help the community and also people who don't have the money to invest in things like that. I hope that makes it a little bit clear what we want to achieve. So what I will do is also add this part here into our chat that I have created here somewhere. Good. Hey Deepak, nice to see you again. Hope you are feeling well. Madasa from Pakistan, nice to see you. Cool. And exactly. And the idea is that we get all of that from the Google Docs. Sorry that I will make now the whole talking a little bit longer, but the reason for that is just to give you an understanding what exactly we want to achieve at the end. Okay, so here we can't see it anymore. I somehow lost it. Probably a different account. I have too many of them. So Google Drive, let me quickly check. Yeah, so if we create a new folder, that would be like, I don't know, learning English. That would be our course. And then inside of that, we would have, for example, lesson 1, and that would be a spreadsheet. So that we call lesson 1. And then we could give it a name like Hello World. And then inside of here, we have, for example, German and English. And then we have Hallo and Hello. But of course, this is not the only possibility that we have. For example, if you are in an engineering class and you want to learn about combustion engines or something similar, you could also have, for example, a hint on that side. And then the other side, you would have the answer. So just to make sure that this is not a localization tool, it is only for defining the cards that will be inside. Okay, so we have space repetition. I think that was it. We have the algorithms here, so we can maybe check that, how we will implement that in the future. Lightner system. Flashcard was proposed, correctly answered. Yeah, so we will have a look on how that works exactly, maybe how we can implement that. I think that is also important. And we had the GitHub repository. Good. Fair enough. So with that, I had a long talk, and this is how it works currently. This is in MIT license, so you are free to take it, but it has no warranty on it, and it's also allowed to use it as a commercial product if you want. Good. What I also said, at the moment, it's only possible to work on macOS and on the iOS and Android, I guess, but we will develop mainly in macOS for now, just because it's most performant and easiest to build for me locally. but in the future it should work on all the systems. So I want to have it also in the web, on a web server, maybe a free web server from Heroku, so we can maybe also deploy it there. And what I also would love is that we maybe have a session where we implement GitHub Actions, so that we build our Flutter app directly in GitHub Actions or inside of CodeMagic and deliver it to a server. Or even Firebase would be also an option. Good. So, if you have questions, right, always ask. I will try to answer them as good as possible. And if you have feedback, also just let me know. Not everything that I say will be is written in stone and makes for everyone sense, but let me know if I talk something stupid. Okay, so now currently we have already our Flashcard application. We have a card and we can accept it and decline it. So that is like the basic usage. So we can say, yes, we knew it, and or no, we didn't knew it. So we have two things that we're still missing. At the moment, we have a hard-coded card. It will be always this one, and we cannot flip it, right? So we need some kind of animation, or at least a second card that is visible. So whenever I tap it, for example, I would like to see the answer now. So the easiest way on how to do it is if we check our UI once more in the homepage, we can see at the moment we read this text hard-coded. So one option would be that we make it tappable, this card, and when we tap it, we just change the text that is here inside. So that would be the, well, most easy possibility. Another option, what I would also like, is at the moment we are reading this flashcard data right away out of the table, which is also a little bit hard-coded, and we receive the whole table back. So we don't have any clue which ones are the hints and which ones are the answers. So we could also change that we exactly know that. So instead of reading the lessons only and have this flashcard table, more or less, so this is the flashcards or flashcard table, something like that. It's not the best name yet, I know, but maybe we find something better later. But if we have that, we could also say, okay, in this table, we will have always a header, which we can cut away, for example. So the first row that we receive from this table can be cut off. So flashcard.table. Can we get something like pop, but for the first one? Do we have even pop here? It's a good question, you know. As contains element at every expand fill range first where no followed by for each get range join last index off last where reduce remove. What happens if we ask remove? Do we receive then a list of strings? So what happens with the one that we removed? I think it's just gonna be deleted. That's not what we want. Set all, single where, skip while, sort, sublist, take while. No, okay, there is not something like the take the first and remove everything else. So what we could do is to get the headlines. So headlines would be, if we go back to this one, so that would be German and English and hint and answers. So that we could, oh, my monitor, here we go. So that we can show that maybe in the top of the hints, so in the top of the flashcards, always. So we have the flashcard headings or header, and this is the flashcard table, the first row we said. So this will be always the header. Well, and what we also know is that we have to remove it now, right? So flashcard table dot remove the first one. So, and the question is now, is it mutable or immutable? So we have to check how this one works. It returns a Boolean, so it is just returned. And this means that the list is getting mutated. That means when we call this, we removed already the first one and we receive the flashcard table itself has changed now. So if I'm looking into it, invocation with reference of unrelated types. Containing class list Boolean function remove. from this list returns true if value was in the list, false otherwise. Ah, can I use 0 then? Remove add would be then the method, right? Yeah. So, and with that we have now, if we print, for example, flashcard table, we will remove the first one that we got. So I will have a look if I should have the chat open. I think that makes things easier to read your things if you write something. Cool. No questions so far. Cool. So then let's hot reload and let's have a look how it looks in our chat. And there it seems like we get some troubles. Invalid value. Only value is 0 and 1. Where's this coming from? Ah, here we go. Okay. So here we get both. Ah, wait a moment. It's not 0 because we have... The issue is we have a list in a list, you know? So we have a 2-dimensional array. And what we want to remove is from the first array, first things. So that's true. Why is it not working? It looks pretty okay-ish to me. Ah, the print is happening. Okay, cool. Ah, the reason is because we have hard-coded down here which one we want to select, and it doesn't exist anymore. Then it fails. It throws an error. So we get now hello, hello. And that means in our flashcard header, we have now the correct values inside. So if I load that, then we receive these headers. Great stuff. So now we know which ones are the headers, and what we can do, for example, in this card, we could have like a row where we show always on top the header of the, or even before the card, we could show it on top of each of everything. Let me quickly check. Yep. So we could remove this center, I guess. We don't need that. And above here, we can now add a text where we take the flashcard header and ask for, of course, we have to move this final here because we define it here, but it's a null value possible. So what we need to do is getting it up here, which is a list of strings. And this could be null because we only set it down here, right? So when we have this flashcard header, we don't say final anymore, and we get them, we remove it, and that's all we need to do. Now we can access the flashcard header down here and ask for the... So on the first card, on the front side, it will be always the first thing that is inside. And then on the second part, it is always the second one. And if this is null, then we just show empty string. Why is it not working yet? Flashcard header, did I... Ah, okay. So then let's check it out and we see nothing. So maybe we have to hot reload quickly. Aha, so perfect. So now we get the flashcard header and we know now this is the German side of the card. And I think it would be more beautiful, at least beautiful. At the moment it's just an MVP, you know, so we want to have it as easy as possible. So we create a column here, put this text inside, and inside of it we have a main axis alignment, which has, whoops, main axis alignment, don't come with that stuff. Dot space between, something like that. Okay, that's maybe not that beautiful, so space evenly, yeah, something like that. So we know this is the header, and down here we have this one. What we also could do to make it better is to wrap this in a, inside of an expanded. Was expanded, zack, and child, so. And with that, this one takes now the full width, so we can center this one, and it looks a little bit more like a header and a card in between, so this will be always on top. Cass, wow, you can, but a null check condition between a list and its selector, that's awesome. Yep, that's true. So things like that is a bit It looks a bit weird, but what we do is we check this one for a null, and then we try to select the first element. If the whole thing gets null, then we drop back to this empty string at the moment. Reason is I don't use late so often, but late is one that many people use and fall apart with it. The reason is with late you say we want that this value is set before it is ever accessed. But if you use it in a build method, it will get accessed because we cannot, init state is not faster than the build method. The build method will always run beforehand. And with that, if I hot restart here, usually if this is late, it should drop an error because we cannot access it. Not sure why it works now, maybe because it is somewhere, yeah. If you see here, we say, okay, this is empty, is a valid checks if something is inside. So this value needs to be set because of this one. So late would make sense for this. But if we put it up here, I have the feeling that this could also work. Interesting. Okay, maybe I'm telling stupid stuff and we could also use late for all of that. Or I made it so null safe that everything is fine. Okay. But now we have our first card, we have our header. I think we don't style it so far yet, because if I style it now, we will have a lot of styling things. And I think for now it's easier to just keep it like that. Because for now I would like to have more functionality. So also what would be interesting is a progress indicator, like something that shows us how many cards there are left inside of our table. So that would mean we would like to have like a progress indicator. And for that, we would need the list of questions. Is it the right word? Or hints? Questions? I'm not sure. I take it as string now and call list or questions for now. And the other thing is the answers, right? So it's like the two sides of the card. The questions is the one side and the answers on the other side. So let's see how we can add these. So we know now that the first element is removed and we have still some elements inside. And we need to know now how many lists of answers are inside. And then we could take always the first one from the flashcard table. So flashcard table, and I see right now one time I write it large and one time small. That's also not good. So we have to refactor it here. So, and what I also see at the moment is we have a lot of logic inside of this init state, which is usually not a good idea. So what we could do in the future is writing a service or something that takes care of these information here. So maybe we have to keep that also in mind. Create a service for this logic. Reason is widget tests are very expensive. So if I want to make a widget test, we always use 200 milliseconds to build up the widget. So my idea would be more to create a service, which is very fast, and then we can write a test for that service, because the tests for the services are like milliseconds. In 1 or 2 milliseconds, all tests have been run, and it is way better for our development life cycle. So just one look and chat. All good. Cool. So how can we now receive all the flashcard answers? Okay, just call it answers for now. And that would be by accessing the flashcard table, which has the first is, it's a good question now. How can we answer? Let us quickly debug it because I want to know how it looks like. So flashcard table, how does it look like? Hot restart. So we get a list in a list, right? And we know now that the first one has been removed already. So we can also move that down here to make it better visible. And now this one consists always out an answer and a question and an answer. So what we can do is we can map this one. So we go to the flashcard table and I want to map it because I think that, whoops, not this map, this map. And what we receive here is a list of strings that we call question and answer. And we want that it returns us... no, map is not that good. I think for each is better. Because we don't want to mutate the map actually, so we don't want to get an array back, but what we want to do is we want to get answers and questions. So, and the answers is always questions and answers. And answer, always the first one. And we know that from question and answer we get, and this is wrong I see right now, so push that up. So this one is 0 and this one is 1. So why is it completely, yeah, because of the null check. So can this be null? Question and answer always consists out of 2 parts. Will it be ever possible to be more? No. So we know actually that this list of string, can we do something else than a list of string? Of course, it's a basic map. So this list of strings is actually not true. It is easy to implement like that, but it would be better that we have a map here. So what I want to do is, or what I have in my mind, to give you an example, would be that we don't have a list of strings, we have a list of a map of strings. So to a string of string. So just to make it a bit understandable or better readable, we would have here a map of string to string. That is of course now not true, but the reason for that would be because that is always answer and question. So the first parameter would be the answer and the second one the question. And that makes it way easier for us to read all that stuff. The only downside at the moment, the split parameter delivers us very easily all the different parts here. So if I check that, we got all the rows, and the rows gave us always a map with a string of row. We splitted that. And this one gives us 2 elements. We know that. And if we check that, how can we do that? I think I will make this a real method. No, that's not good. We want to convert it to a block body. And thanks to our tests that we have written, we can also change these tests now. Because at the moment we ask for the direct element, but this will fail now if we write the new function. We can also think about to return not a table, or even to return the table, but this would return something else. This will be a map of string. And we return this table, a list of map of string to string. So, fair enough. Thank you, debug. Exactly. So, and now we rows map. So we receive always a row that we split. So now we have our question and answer or headline or whatever, but it's always 2 parts. And we know that. So what we can do is, instead of returning now this split, we have to create a map, right? So this one wants to be a map. Split by comma, and now we have to list. Was the easy way? Exactly, key value, but how can I just create a new map like this? I'm not sure, I don't think so. No, that's not the idea. So I somehow have to get this and then how to create a list out, a map out of a list. So I can create a set and a list to map. No, it's not to map. We get these 2 elements, but how do I get that now to a map? Okay, let's Google that. We have a list to map. Start. Let's see how we can do that best. Oh, that was not my first time that I Googled that. So list to map, same, no. Map from iterable. Okay, easy. Map dot from iterable, bum, and then we put the iterable inside, and that should be it already. So what happens here? A value of iterable map dynamic can't be assigned to a variable of list map string. That's true. So can I say what type it is? Is there a T that I can pass in? That doesn't look good, but maybe for the map, if we create this map, then we have maybe something. Do we have an example? Aha, yeah, cool. So I can make it like this and say string. But he's still not happy. An iterable of map string can't be assigned to list to map. Okay, so that means after this map, we have to make it to a list. Not too bad, not too shabby. So, I hope that was clear what we are doing here. It's a bit complicated if you don't understand generic so good. So what we did with this, we said, okay, this map that we want to create here will be from type string to string. Answer and question, or question and answer. And then we say from iterable, which is a constructor. And what we do is we believe that this row split will always return us 2 elements. What we also have to do here is we need to make sure that this row split will be always 2 elements. So probably we will have to write some kind of passive or defensive way again. So like up here, we have to make sure that this row split will never be something else than a length of 2. Because if it is, then we have an issue. So we create a split here. And what I want to do is if this split.length is larger than 1, 2, yeah, then we throw an error. And what error? I think an unsupported error. The CSV is only allowed to have 2 columns. Good. I hope that makes sense so far. We still get some errors, but don't worry about them. We will fix them in a second. But let's jump first into our tests, because if we let them run, I'm pretty sure they will fail at the moment. Because we cannot access a map like this. It's not possible. We get an error. But what we can do is we can ask for the entries, for example. So we can ask for the elements, or what we also can do is we can move it to a list. I think that is also possible. And now if we access that again, it should be correct again. No, still not. Not an instance of string. Okay. Interesting. So let's have a look how this one behaves by setting a breakpoint and debug the test. It's always the nice thing about the IntelliJ IDE that we can now see what exactly happens here. So what I can do is I can mark the part that I want to know, and then I call evaluate expression inside of IntelliJ. And if I do that, I can evaluate. And what we see now is exactly what happens inside of here. So we receive 2 iterables. The first one is with 2 German and English and hello, hello. Interesting, what happens here? So we get hello, key value is always hello. So it seems there is an issue. Maybe I did something wrong. Or what means maybe there is something wrong, because the key and the value is not allowed to be the same. What we would like to have is here that hello is on the left side and hello on the right side for this key. So why is it completely off? At least this is a good test, you know, that's already, if we fail here, that's a very good sign. Okay, that being said, we have to understand first what we actually want to achieve. We want to get a map, so we can get this as a result. Yep. And here we want to have something different. And now we can check what we get here. So the first map that we receive is a map of string. We have now a list of map. Do we need the list anymore? The first list? Let me quickly think. So we have a list, but why do we have the list in the first place? We had it because of the two-dimensional array, which we don't need anymore with the map, right? So that would mean we completely remove our first list because we just need a map. It's nothing else than a map. Is that correct? Crazy. Okay, so that helps a lot because it makes the things so much easier for us. So if we don't return here anymore a list of a map string, we just have a map string. So this one would be also wrong. We get our to table, which is now more a map, right? So our questions answer map. And now, of course, we have to change here a little bit. So currently we get the rows. Is that correct? And every row consists out of our entries, right? So could we do it differently? I think the easiest or the only thing that we have to do is this part here. We have to create this map string, remove all of that, and pass in, instead of split, rows. It looks a little bit too easy in my opinion, but let's have a look. It could be already correct. So that would mean we have now here the map itself immediately. And if we have that, we could get all the keys and all the values. And we want to have hello, which is the answer of the first thing. So we can get this 1. That's red, isn't defined in the iterable. Values dot, and this is an iterator. It's not necessarily iterable. How can I receive the contains value? Contains value. Yeah, contains value. Hello. And that should be true. I think that's the same test. And still fails. Okay. True has been false. So that was a bit too much. But maybe you see already the benefit of writing tests, because you get very easily access to what we want to achieve. Aha. So German, English. So we get the same entry twice. That makes no sense. So what we want to do is splitting it still. So the rows have to be split, which makes sense. So back to our test. Up. Or better, first finish the test here. So debug, we cancel. And what we want to do here differently is not rows, but rows split with a comma. Why is it not possible? Isn't defined in for the type list. For the rows, we get each element from iterable. List values directly. Var map, we have a map of int, and from iterable list. Map is 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. That is not useful for me at the moment. From iterable list. And then we can say what the key is and what the value is. Maybe that helps us. Okay, so we received the list, which is this one. And then we can say what the key and what the value is. So what we can say is now, question is, how can we access that actually? We received the item. Okay. So if we get now here the item, this is one row now in these rows. And one row would be, better naming is row, of course. And from this row, the element 1, row dot split with comma, and then the first element 0 would be our key. Exactly. And our value would be the same thing. 1. What is that now? 4 row split? No, that's not good. It's not the same. Ah, it's the same thing. Ah, crazy. That's cool. So why is it the same thing here? It looks a bit weird, but it does exactly the same thing. And the reason is we create a map with a for loop. Wow, that looks... This is stuff that I wouldn't know. So whenever you see code like that in your code base from a colleague or a coworker, I like that it is possible, but I wouldn't know it. So it is things you need to learn because wow, honestly, I'm impressed. So you can see we have this map with this curly braces around it, and then we say that the key is this part and the value is this part. And then we close the part. And because we make a for loop inside of it, it creates all the elements. Crazy stuff. Cool, the tests are running green. So that tells us the tests are green. All of that works, which is even better. And what we can do also is run it with coverage. And I don't know if you have ever done this. This running with coverage gives you a huge benefit. Can you see this green, how do you call it, rectangles in front? When you click on it, you can see now that it hit this element 1 time. That means our tests have been run in this part, have been run in this part. So the only downside that we still have to check, and I don't know if this is possible with this annotation, that means that every row needs to be 2 length long. So what I could do, maybe, no, this is not possible. And now I think it would be more beneficial to do it with this items and keys. On the other side, how could we check that in a different way? We would need to split it, but we have to go through each row. I mean, it will throw anyway an error if the list would be too long. Like if we would create a file that not only that is not a test, but what happens if we have a test data, if I copy that and call it not less than 1, but 3 column CSV. So, and we create that, and now we would have English, Spanish. And I think it's hola. So, holy holla. No, holla is correct, I think. And with that, we have now 3 columns, and this should throw an error. At least this is what I expect. So what we can do is create a new test. So when we pass in a CSV file, with 3 columns, then it should throw. Perfect. So now we need again our test file, which we get from here. Copy path. The path from, I think it's the same. Good. So we pass that in. And now I would like to have a throw unsupported error actually. So when we run the test here, we get an error. And this is normal from IntelliJ. If you run the coverage multiple times, we just add it to the active suite, but you can also replace it if you want to. So, but we see we should get an error, but what happens actually is we return the correct values. This is, well, good on the one side, but we remove just one with the second column. So the user don't know why Spanish is not a valid point. Of course, we could be that nice to our customers and accept that, but it could lead to some problems that we want to avoid actually. Can you see everything? Yeah, our tests are good, visible, everything good? Cool. Are you still here? Are you alive? Do I talk too much? Or too fast? Okay, so how can we do that now? So we have to check that each row here inside is allowed to be done like that. So we could now iterate over everything, but I think that would be a mistake. So if we split that once here, we could create the keys and values beforehand. That would be a thing. So we have like a for var row in rows, and maybe we create the key and the value beforehand. So we would have final key equals up, and what would that help us? We need then to do that. We put that map inside and then add the key and values all the time to it. That makes sense. So we would create an empty map like that, put that inside above, and then we would have this row where we go now through each row, split the whole thing with a comma. And if we do that, then we have 0 and 1. The one is the key, the other one is the value. And now we can say question answer map dot add, probably add all, add entry, a new entry inside. Why is it an iterable? An iterable of map entry. Dot, what do we have else? Do we have something at all? At iterable contains key for each map, put if absent. String key, and then we have the function if it is absent. Update, is it just put? No, it's just put if absent. So what is the question here, Suman? I have an API data of 7 in list and I'm mapped using as map. The data below, data, how can I show only 4 data instead of all? You will have to filter it. If you have a list with 7 data, you have to filter it. There is an, for example, we have the rows here, which is a list. Then you have the method, is it filter? No, it's where. Exactly, where. And then you have to throw out whatever you don't want. So, and this where condition works like you give it inside a method where you check the element by what you want to know. So this element is now 1 row inside of this rows. And now you can check, for example, element dot length, I don't know, is larger than 5. And then you only receive these ones that are larger than 5. Take care that where is an not mutable thing. So you will get back a new list of these elements. So this is a list of string here, a new one, like new list. And with that, you should be able to get that. Or is it not? It's an iterable. Okay, so to list. So something like that should help you at least, Suman. I think Mahtab created a video where she explains the where method, so check that out. Maybe it helps you. Okay, so I talked a lot. Let me think once more. So we get our row, we split it with 0 and 1. And now we want to create, we put it inside if absent. So our question and answer map, not with a row, put if absent. We get the key, that is the split with 0. So, and what we want to do, we want to put inside the 1 like that. Yeah, I think that should work. And what we need to do next too. So what I don't like is that we call twice the row split. I think that is unnecessary, so we can optimize that. This one gets split, or yeah, split, why not? And the reason I don't want to have that here, we want to have it here. And then we can also replace this part with split. So we save us some lines of code here. And another thing we want to do now is if the split.length is unequal to 2, then we throw our unsupported error. The CSV must have exactly 2 columns. So we are passive developers again. We say exactly what the developer needs to take care of, or also our customers needs to take care of. And it's never allowed to have 3 columns somewhere. So if we run that again, we will throw it. And also it's not allowed to have one column. It's also not possible. So we could also create this one with a one column or an empty one column and an empty CSV. I think empty CSV would be also a crash now. So the empty CSV, we can start with this one. We remove everything. And we can copy the path, getting that from the content root. When we pass an empty CSV, then it should throw again. So we have our empty CSV here. It's also a bit odd that I'll call them always CSV, so don't do that at home, right? It's just doubled because it is a CSV, we know that. So we can rename that to a not CSV, and also this one. And also this one. Do refactor. Cool. Yeah, much better. So empty CSV, and it should also throw an unsupported error. Let the tests run. Let's see what happens. And actually this part here, yeah, you can see it already. It is still okay-ish. When we pass an empty CSV, so he don't understand. We receive an empty map. So that would be something we can also test here. And so if the file path does not end with CSV, and what would be the other part? That the CSV cannot be empty. And we cannot take it here inside, it would be an own error case, right? So if the file, where do we know that? Up down here, right? Where we read the rows. So if the rows.length is 0, then we throw again. At least one header and one QA. Ah, perfect. Yeah, is empty is much better. Good. I think with that we are pretty speakable and understandable, and make sure that other developers don't take our method wrongly or use it wrongly. So 4 tests are running, great stuff. And what would be the next part? And we have also with one column that we want to test. I hope I'm not too boring by testing everything or every part, but the benefit is now when we have tested it like this, we are sure that all of these are working correctly, and we will never run into problems like these because we know that it behaves like that. And perfect, we get it also done, and all the tests are running green in 49 milliseconds, which is great. Okay, but now let's make our code again green, because, or better, let's commit this, because we know that this works, and we have also these. So we improved our, this is a feature, I would say, improved and hardened our CSV reader. Good. But now we have to make our app green again, because we have currently a lot of red things. The reason for that is we return now a map, and nothing of our code is currently understanding this part. So we have to remove here a lot of things, and all of these lists here that we have can change to a map actually. But let's start with the first one, which is now a map of string. This is this flashcard table, and which is an at least, or at the beginning, 0 or nothing. And I think that makes sense because this one returns it then later. Non-nullable instance, yep, so let's null that. We get that, and here we know now that something is inside. So here we can make a check, flashcard table unequal null. Or better, we know now that this is not null. How can this be now? So we return here something. So how or why does he think he cannot? Ah, okay. So this is another problem. A value of type string question mark can't be assigned to a variable of type list string empty. Okay. So this flashcard table can be renamed. This is flashcard map. And now let's have a look. So this part makes no sense. And what I would like to do is first, we don't need this for each at the moment anymore, because we have that now way easier. Thanks to the map with string, we know now the first string is always the answer or the question, and the second string is always the question, which makes it super easy to implement in the future. Cool. So I will remove, this can be done also. And now we just have to remove the very first element, because the first row with answer and question will be always the header. So remove, I hope I can do that, which is a string now. Because I have to pass in the key, but not the entry. So if I get the entries, which is an iterable of these map entries, okay, we can now say to list, for example, but can I remove it from an iterable? No. Hey Peas, great to see you again. I'm happy that you found the way back. So to list, and now we can remove add, and this returns a map entry. Perfect. So that's exactly what I want. So this remove add returns now a map entry, and this map entry contains 2 elements, and this map entry has value and key. So how can I do that now the best way? So what we could do is creating and instead of having this list of strings, we have now a map entry, string to string, which could be null. So, and what have we done here wrong? Remove edge, and the entries could be null. The receiver can be null. Try making the accessible or adding null check target. Okay, we can make sure that this entries is never null. Yeah, let's make it an easy way. I think a null check here is okay. Sorry, the map could be null. Yeah. Good. So if this is the case, the flashcard map is empty. I think that's not possible because this one... but why was it? Is empty? Is empty can't be... okay, the same thing, because this one could be null, so we have to check it. And what happens now if this is null? That makes... okay, that's a problem. I was very happy with the success yesterday. We had tons of viewers, I think 50 users in the peak, so I didn't even notice that, but sometimes we have this huge people amount that are watching, so I'm always very happy in live streaming because I have a lot of fun and answering questions, you know, it's always my thing. Cool. Okay, so we want now to check if this is empty, and if it's empty we show it. But it could be null, and what happens if it's null? Then we should also fall back. Is empty or null? Oh, there is a large difference. VTV. Oh, have some water. Thank you, Deepak. I put it very far away this time because yesterday I spilled it everywhere. That's a lot of passing null around, that's true. When I know that, yeah, that's also true. The difference between the exclamation mark and the question mark is here I'm sure that it is not null. So we should avoid to use that because it is like the golden hammer, you know, you say always this is not null, I'm pretty sure. But even here it would be even wrong because the first time the build method would run, it could be null, which is a mistake or a problem. What I could try is now make this one late. So that would at least remove the problem. And what we could do is remove this null check here, because that would mean, hey, this needs to be something. But it could lead to an error, and we will check that if this happens. Then this one wants to get the flashcard header, but it's a map entry, and here we can get now the The question is now, it's the question? Key? It's not possible to get the key? Key or value? Why is it getting red? Because the flashcard header could be null too. But also here we can do that and say that this is late. Because also here we are sure that something is inside, right? Perfect. So if this is not null, then this can be never null. And this flashcard, thank you, Cass. Good luck with the gym. And you see already, if we remove a little bit of the null checks and make it late, it could be a possibility. But I'm always afraid that this late throws errors, because if we access it, unfortunate. Yeah. Can also imagine that I'm a bit, today we are a bit late. So most people are at home and eating and enjoying their lives. Like it should be, of course. So, and here we can access now an entry and could get the first entry first. And then we ask, I don't know, for the, wait, the first entry, and then we have key and value, and the key would be the question, right? So now the only downside is I have always to remember the key is the question and the answer is always the value. So let's see, we go to our main, we hot restart, and let's see, nothing crashes. That looks already good. The late works, so it's not so much magic. Okay, so init state is running before the build method the first time. At least this is what happens here at the moment. And what we can also check is, because we removed a lot of logic here, we can remove this to do. Because if we think about it, we don't have any logic anymore here inside, or not real logic. We just get the entries, and this doesn't hurt us, I think. We can make it even more beautiful, I think, in the last run, but I think that already helps us a lot. So feature, we improved, or we make the usage of a map possible for our homepage. Good. So what I always try in my commit messages is writing why we change something. So if you, for example, fix a bug, you don't write I fixed the bug because nobody cares. But what you write is, in the bug XYZ, you had this and this issue, and with this you solve that problem. Make the usage of the map possible for the home screen. A homepage is not really a good commit message, but it's still better than I would write like, okay, there is now, I don't know, I implemented the map for this and this reason or something. Hey Bilal, nice to see you. So also what you can see is, because we run our tests with the coverage beforehand, I can make that once more and check the file for it. So let me quickly switch there. So because I run it with the coverage, and here you can see now we run here 6 times inside, and also here we run 3 times and so on, which is a beautiful thing. But I see right now this part seems to be not tested, which could be an issue. But it could be also that this test result is just not part of the lcov file at the moment. So how can we check that? Coverage. And usually we have this, no, show options before applying. Yep. Do not apply collected cover. Replace active with the new one. Add the, yeah. Let's run it once more and let's see. Huh. It seems that the coverage is not getting visible correctly. That's a little bit sad. So show coverage data. Yes, please. It's not getting overwritten. Ah, guys, I show you something and nothing works. It's always like that. So, and if I go back, huh. It seems like it doesn't run into that, but this makes no sense because we return something, which is true. Yeah, but what you can see here is this lcov file doesn't work always perfect. But what you can check out is the plugin that I use for that, because that is not out of the box for Flutter. I think you need this Flutter enhancement suite from Marius Höffler, because he created that with the that you can see that with the coverage. So I really like that plugin, and maybe I can share that also as a link. Then you can also get that if you like it. Thank you, Jonas, for your feedback. That is really appreciated, because today I got also very negative feedback, so it's always good to always hear that some people like what I'm doing. So, okay. Besides of that, we have this running. We have these buttons. With this commit, I think we can push that already up. I hope nobody else works currently on the project. So let me quickly check the repository, not that someone else pushed something up and I just hit her on main, because at the moment I work directly on the main branch, which is usually not a good idea, but I think for our purposes at the moment that's all right. Good. So what we did now is we improved everything, but how do I know that my tests are running? How do I know that my pipeline is running and the analysis is all good? So what I would do now or next is I would maybe take a quick look into GitHub Actions to at least run a basic pipeline that runs into issues if we have a test wrong or something like that, so that we at least get like a basic feedback loop that gives us at least some advantages against our tests. I remembered searching to how to have named list dynamic. Yeah, also a possibility. Yeah, I know that this will be not that easy at the moment, but maybe we find a good solution in the future. It is better than having it just in a list of a list, because with the map we reduce a lot of complexity, I think, at the moment, which I really enjoy actually. Because instead of having a two-dimensional array, we have now just a map. But you're right. What I could do, instead of calling this flashcard map, I could call it question answer map. So now I know always the first part is the question and the second part is the answer. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's great. That's good, I think. So, before I start now with the, what did I say, with the GitHub Actions and implement that, that's a basic refactor or cleanup, renamed question answer map to make it better readable and maintainable. Cool. Good. So what I will do is a short break of 5 minutes or something to get some air inside the room, because slowly it smells. And yesterday I had like a heat inside of here, so I think it makes it a bit easier for me to concentrate. So don't run away. I will be back in 5 minutes. Ooh. Up. Yeah, absolutely. Naming variables is always a very tough choice, and most likely the things that we developers struggle most with. Field question and answer has not been initialized. Yeah, that's okay-ish, I think. If I hot restart that. Break. Nice. Oh. Ha! Huh? How is that possible? Okay, somehow the header and the title has changed. Ah, because I removed one, and that is of course wrong. Much better. Now it's both German. That's also not true. Remove question and answers entries. Ah, but it removes not from the... Oh, okay. So that's of course a mistake. So what is the reason this stuff happens now? Let me quickly think. So we remove it from the entries, but the reason we don't... Because we don't work with the list anymore. We work now with the list. So what we could do is getting the entries and then to a list and remove it and use the list from now on. I think that would be an option that we can do. So we could here, for example, entries and say that is a list. Then we would remove all that and we would have to change that from a map to map. It would be now, what is it now? A list of strings? A list of string to string? Entries, no, of, yeah, that is a list of map entry, string to string. Yeah, perfect. That's amazing. Good. Fair enough. Now remove the first one. And with that, it stays the first one. And down here, where we get now the error, we don't access the entries first anymore. We directly enter the first and get the key. Link version is not a sub. Yep, that is a hot restart issue. Fantastic. Great stuff. Everything works. Good. So fix the bug. So bug fix. Question and answer was wrong. Sorry. Thank you, Deepak. There's always something I forget. I have to get more used to live streaming. You know, now the light is on the background and stuff. So slowly we progress. And what I also found out is my computer is too weak to change the text inside of the Streamlabs during it runs the stream. So I wanted to change from starting soon to making a break, but it didn't work. Okay, question was wrong inside of the cards. Okay, so next step, I asked you if we want to use a small build pipeline, or if I want to integrate a small build pipeline. Or it was not really a question, it was more I want to have a small build pipeline. And what I would like to ask you is, I have 3 options that would be all similar good, I would say. All of them are easy to use. We could use one thing, GitHub Actions, which is integrated in GitHub itself. Then we would have Code Magic that I already worked with. Benefit there, it is very easy to set up and so on and so forth, but we will go over that. Or the third option would be Bitrise. It's also an option that makes it easy to create at least a basic and simple build pipeline. And because I cannot decide that, I think it would be ready for a poll. So I try it once more to create a poll. New, and which the ICD tool. Cool. So let's see if we can get that. Bitrise, Code Magic, or GitHub Actions. Let's see what happens here. Did I send it? Do I have internet? Still a broken API in straw poll. Straw poll. Can I create one with myself quickly? I think so. Type question. Okay. Code Magic. What is the other one? Yeah, GitHub Actions. Or last but not least, what was it? Ah, Bitrise. IP duplication check. Okay, improve spam. No spam if you want. Allow multiple poll answers. Nah, just one. Create. Okay, it's completely broken, it seems. Huh. How I get got? Sorry, Deepak. It seems straw poll is completely broken, so with that we cannot create straws at the moment. But I hear it, just write it in the chat if you have specific answers to it. So in the meantime, I can maybe show you all the tools that I mean. So Code Magic makes it very easy, but it costs some money, at least later. Hey, Hanin, thank you very much to become a coffee supplier. Thanks for the support. Great to have another member here. At the moment, I'm still a bit bad to give you all more additional things than just my thankfulness. But maybe in the future I can do more. So, and with Code Magic, it is very easy to create a build pipeline. Most of the stuff is already done. The only downside is you have a billing, and I think there are 500 build minutes that you get for free. And then you have to pay for it. So something like that. Let me check if this is true. Miracle design. Billing is not available. To run new builds. Ah, okay. I even have to do it myself, it seems. Yeah, not sure. But it could be that we have to pay for it, or at least put inside a billing information. Then we have GitHub Actions, which is completely for free and helps you at least. It's perfectly integrated in GitHub itself, which makes it very nice. And the last one is Bitrise. And I have to admit, I'm not completely convinced from Bitrise. It has a very cool possibility to work with. It has a very cool possibility to work with. How do you call it? With private Bitrise IO authorize, and we get that one. Okay, I have to even recognize this one, but in Bitrise you get like a tool where you can create the workflow one step by another. Also, this is very easy to implement, but it has some downsides, and with Flutter I was not really happy to implement it yet. So because we cannot start a poll at the moment, so I think Deepak, you have one at the moment, so let's create just an easy GitHub Actions. For that, what we have to do is actually we create a new folder, which is .github. And then inside of that, we will have a YAML file. But of course, I don't want to do that myself. So what I do is, what we can search for is a Flutter part. But the easiest part is just to set up the workflow with Dart for the moment. And then it will automatically create you this .github workflows and then the Dart YAML file. And inside of that, now you can set up everything to run Dart analyze, Dart pubget, but all of that doesn't really help us. We need Flutter. And as you see, Subsito is, I think, the most start one. So we usually use that one. So if I click on that one, we can see how we implement this. There is a small installation guide on how to use it. And what we also can do is we go to the market listing. And here inside, we get also some more information how this works. So what we have is a job. And inside of this job, we have now build. But what we actually has is testing, because we run our tests, or we want to run our tests. Then where we run it, so it is a Docker container that gets deployed, and then we run it inside of it. And then we want to execute these different steps. And if we have a look here, we can see they are actually different steps that we want to use. So we have here that the Flutter version is 2.0. That's not true. We want to use stable. And what you can see is we use GitHub checkout, set up Java, and so on and so forth. And we will just use this part here. I think that should be it. Yes. And we don't want to build the APK, at least not yet. So what we can do is actually return and remove all of that. And now with this, we have to put that inside. The reason is this is, of course, a YAML file. So always 2 space bars between the next step, more or less. So like we have the test, which is now 4 space bars in front. So 1, 2, 3, or 2. And then the next one is 4. So 1, 2. So always 2 spaces between the next level of the tree. Okay, so we run it on Ubuntu latest. Our steps that we do is we check it out, the repository. After that, we install Java because it seems that it needs Java 12+. After that, we use the action from Subosito with the channel stable. And after that, we run pub-get, which gets the latest dependencies from pub.dev. And last but not least, we run Flutter test. That could be enough already, but what I want to add also is we want to run not only Flutter test, but also Flutter analyze. Reason is if I make a mistake by linting rules, the linting rules will be visible inside of the editor, but we don't get information inside of our GitHub Actions if we don't run it here inside. So that's the reason why we also add the analyze command. So you can also run that, of course, in your terminal. You run Flutter analyze, then we will get no issues, hopefully, exactly. But if I would now, for example, remove a const somewhere, like here, then it's getting yellow. The build pipeline would run. So if we run now, for example, Flutter test, nobody cares, right? I can even run Flutter build, and this wouldn't be a problem either. Okay, I have to choose now. So let's keep it for now, but you would believe me now, or you need to believe me, if I build it or run it, it will not get an error. But if I run Flutter analyze, we will come to that issue that here should be a const. So info, it prefers, and because this one issue is found, we would fail the build. So add the const again, all is good. And with that, we are good to go. All right, so now we push that on main. So whenever we want to push on main, it will run this pipeline, or when we create a pull request in main, then we will run it too. And then we can also make things like gates. If we want to merge something via a pull request into main, then it is only allowed if this workflow has been run through without issues. So let's start the commit, create.yaml. So that would be create first test build pipeline. We don't need anything else. I push it directly to main again, because I'm allowed to at the moment. And what happens now is if I reload it, you see that yellow dot here. And this means we run now this test. And we can now check the details, and we can see now what executes beside. So we run the checkout, we install Java, and we can even take a look into how it works, but you can see it's very fast so far. Also that installation of Flutter should be quick. Okay, it depends on how long it needs to download. But it's a very good time to explain you all the things. I hope that makes all sense what I'm telling you, because these pipelines make a lot of sense if you have a private project, because you don't have to invest too much time on how everything is to set up, and if your tests are running green and things like that, you don't have to invest too much time into it. Also, another benefit is if you have, for example, built the web project, you can now deploy it directly somewhere. That is something that I enjoy a lot about Firebase and, for example, CodeMagic, because they create you already immediately an repository, a web server that directly implements also these parts. So that's pretty useful. So as you can see, we run already further. So pub.get was running in 6 seconds, which is amazing. Now Flutter analyze runs. I think that should be also fast. And what you also can see is that there seems to be some cache inside that gets saved. So we can also register that there will be a cache of all the packages that we install. And with that, we would not re-download that all the time to make our build pipeline faster. So all the tests have been run through, everything happy. We run post runs, so that means it cleans up the Java and the actions, and we completed the job. And as you can see, it's getting a green tick, a very big one. And with that, we have now done what we needed to do. We have set up our first basic pipeline. And with that, we increased already the stability of our product a lot. Cool. All right. So I think I create a new issue for that and close it, even though we did it already. So create a basic build pipeline in GitHub Actions. So, and I put it to my project. That's just now cleanage and just to be clean here, because that is actually done already. So created, or can I link the commit? I think that would be the best. So I take the last commit, edit that, and put that as a commit here, and close the issue. So it's maybe a bit boring, but with that, we know exactly where we added this build pipeline. Okay. And with that, our project already shows very better. And what we could do now is, we could make the card flippable. I think that would be a good next issue, or? Yeah. It's a bit tragic that we can't poll around, because then I could play a bit with that around. But I think, yeah, to make it flippable would be cool. Also, we could maybe invest a little bit in time to see how we can make the animations inside of our project. So let's see, we have that. Also, what I would like to look at, we could also create like an opener for CSV files inside of the app later. But I see there are a lot of possibilities. So the next step to make it flippable. Now our widget tree starts already to get a little bit larger. So maybe it makes also sense to separate that sooner or later. But let's first keep it for now and then decide when we're getting too large. So this card needs to be clickable. Is it the card? I think so. I think even that these buttons will not be visible in the beginning. So when the card is already not flipped, we don't want to show it. So we have a Boolean flipped or card flipped, or yeah, card flipped. And this Boolean is always false for now. And what we want to do is, when this card is not flipped, we could even change just the text at the moment, right? So that would be the easiest. So this, then this, else we show the answer, right? So I think that is the wrong distance side, but something like that. So if the card is not flipped, we show the key, and if it is flipped, we show the value. Key is our question and value is our answer. Okay, so hello is our idea. What is that correct? Let us check our CSV file. Not here in the tests, in this one. No, it's not correct. Hello should be our hint and English should be our information. So this one is vice versa. So I go to the question mark and hit Option Enter. And sadly, nothing happens. Usually, why is it not working? Interesting. Usually it understands that it needs to flip the answer around, but somehow not today. So manual labor work. So now we can see the hint in German. And if I click it now, we want to turn it around. So the easiest way, as I said, would be to give this one a so-called, we have the gesture detector would be one option. And the other option is the material, and there it is an inkwell. Inkwell. And I'm a big fan of the inkwell because it creates this ripple effect on top of whatever we do here now. So if I call on tab, I think, then we have our method, and inside of here we can now set the state And this set state needs now to flip the card. Like we have here a method which says flipped or card flipped equals true or no. Yeah. So we tap that, and I think we can make it even a bit easier like that. We don't need that, and we can just pass there comma. So with that, we change the state now to card flipped. And what I think is we already have also to change this here. Like this text will be card flipped question mark value or key. And I think flashcard header is also not a good name. Like we need to say it is the headers, yes, but also here we have questions, a question, answer, header, to know that the question is always first. So value is always the question. All right, bye Deepak, enjoy the rest of your evening. Cool. So now hot restart and see what we got. And we can see if I press it now, we turn it once, but we can also make it flip always the other side. So we flip it all the time. So flip, 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 flip. Perfect. So that works already. But what I see is somehow we have a space in between. That is also something we can fix very easily, I think. But with that, we have it already flippable. It's not beautiful. I don't say that. And I think we can invest more time into it, make it beautiful. But for now, it is enough to have it like that. Because as I said, I want to create an MVP first to have something that we could release, that we can really maybe create an app in Google Play Store. Because, well, why not? You know, if it's very easy and works and the user gets a benefit out of it, we can directly release it. There is no reason why we shouldn't do it, because that should be your aim always in development. To release at least a minimal viable product, because else you only have fun with code, which is also a good thing, but it reduces your feeling of being productive, if this makes sense. So, and of course, not everyone thinks like me, but it's my opinion now. So, and here to show the row, I would like to not show the row if we have the card flipped. So if the card flipped or card flipped, then we want to show the row. Is that true? Yes, exactly. And else we just show null. I think that should work. No? Then we give it just a container. Or even better, a sized box. Why is a sized box better in this case? Because it's a constant. And with that, we don't re-render it all the time. So we can see if it is, now it's exactly opposite. So convert if else. No, we have to move this row to that size box. And else we want to display that. Good. And now if it is getting, no, it was correct. Sheesh. If it is German, this is our hint. And then we want to get the buttons. Okay, great stuff. And I think we also don't want to make it, we want to make it only once clickable, right? So if we have the inkwell and if the card is flipped, we don't want to show the inkwell anymore. There are so many things going on. I think we will have to split that up soon. But okay. And now we have that inkwell, and now we want to make it not tappable. So we have two options here. First would be inside of the on tap, we make the if check and say, hey, if the card is already flipped, then we are not allowed to flip it again. Another option would be, I think there is a prevent clicker widget somehow. Prevent or click. Is there a clickable event or something like that? Let me Google that quickly, because I think there is one. Click prevent or tap preventer. Prevent Flutter. Prevent tap click event. Yep. Use stack as an option. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Tap debouncer. Gesture detector nodes. I thought there was something that I can disable every click down in the widget tree. How ignore touch events, disable click events of a screen? Ignore pointer. Haha, I knew it. So that's the, yeah, perfect. Thank you, WatchTech, Cosiro. Thank you. So ignore pointer it was, exactly. I knew that there is something, but I didn't know the name anymore. And now with that, we just have to make sure that this is not always ignoring it. We only ignore it if card flipped is true. So let's see which turnaround it takes, so which one is correct. Now, exactly, so we are in English and the pointer is getting ignored. So if I hot restart that, we drop on false and you can see the mouse cursor is getting to that hand and that shows that this one is tappable. By tap, we get it back and it's removed. This is pretty mighty because what you can do is whenever you have a loading spinner, for example, and you have an app-wide loading spinner, you can surround this ignore pointer through the whole application and say whenever it is loading, you ignore all pointers. With that, you are pretty sure that whenever your loading state is active, you can ignore all the pointers and make sure your app is not clicked somewhere, so you don't double press something or something like that. I hope that makes sense. Okay. But as you can see, it's getting slowly out of hand because this part here, for example, and this part looks pretty similar. And I think also this card flip could be a little bit easier to understand or make it easier understandable. We have now all the answers and all the questions up here, and I think we don't even need them. Why are they not? Yeah, they are not used, so we can even remove them and make it a bit cleaner. What else? If we would now move on, so how would we do that? First of all, commit that, because I think that is already a huge enhancement, like it's a feature. And what we did is enable click or flip of the card and show the result and buttons. Also ignoring tabs when card is flipped. So yeah, I didn't knew that also. It was a help from Twitter actually, not from Twitter, because there was a discussed once, I think. And then I was like, great idea to have that in mind with the loading spinner and stuff. So I thought I share that in the stream. Okay, so we have that. We have this. We can flip now our card. And if I click one of them, now I would like to show the next card. So how we can do that? So we have these icon buttons. Make that a little bit more cleaner. And what I also don't like is at the moment, it's okay-ish, but as you can see, this line here is at the moment our line break for the whole app. And I think the line could be a bit larger because most of us have larger screens. So what we can do is going to the rules here. And I think line length or something, lines longer than 80 chars would be true. And I would like to set that up. Oh, hey Minu, yes, you are. things happened. So, and what I would like to do is Flutter rules line length, I think is the name. Rule to measure. Yep, there it is. Readability studies shows that lines and travel farther when moving beginning and end. This is newspapers and magazines. I use multiple columns of text. If you really find yourself wanting lines longer than 80s, our experience is that your code is likely too verbose and could be a little more compact. Does each word in that type name? Okay, so we keep it with 80. But we could improve that also if we want to. But I think keep it as a standard. Yes, indeed, this video is recorded, but I tell you, live streams to watch as a video, usually people don't like that too much because I ask questions, answers, and stuff like that. Exclude tabs before the line, like this one. Not sure what you mean, Minu, but yeah. Yes, I can change it in the IntelliJ, but I think it will take always the analysis options for as a reference. So if you change it there, it should also change in the IntelliJ settings. At least that was my experience. But of course, if you go to the settings here, you can also check it for languages and frameworks, I guess. And we have Dart, and this is wrong. Where is it? Editor. And then we have language. Let's search for Dart. Color code style. So inside of code style, we have the line length, and here I could change it to 120, for example, and then we could work with that. But you're right, I think 80 is also perfect because if I have the large screen with you guys that you can read everything, I think 80 is better because then we have on the left side enough space, you can read everything, and I don't come too often to the right side. Good. So we have this on pressed here. You're most welcome, Hassan. Hassan M. Hassan. Is it really a double name? Great. Is it from your father or how does it work? So we have the on-press cancel, and depending on which we, or independent of which, we want to show always the next card now. So, and also what we want is to move the card into different boxes, right? To get it to the next or to the last to stay on the one. So that is something we have to do in the future. Interesting. So let's think about it. To get the next card, how would we do that? At the moment, we have always this part where we always pass in the header and we take always the first one, which is of course not what we want anymore. And the header should stay always the same. So we don't want to change that at all. So actually it's just this part that receives always new values. Let me quickly think. So one thing what we could do is creating a widget out of this one and pass it inside always the question that we want. And then we can just enhance it with set state, like current question. I think that makes sense. So what we would do is we have a late entry that we call current question and answer maybe. Flutter Markdown, yeah, I can imagine. I heard that this is not that easy to implement. Then this current question and answer will now receive the next question always from the map. And at the beginning, it will be always the first one. So we can also do this because we get the first one for the header and the second one for the answer. And then instead of passing in this with the first, we just pass in this and this. And when we come inside of here, we have to take it from this map here and take the next one. And we can just remove it. Ah, that's cool because we have a stack. Like we have a stack of questions and then we remove always the top one. Like kick, 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 always. So it's not perfect, and yes, there will be better solutions in the future, but for now, that would be the solution. So that means what we will do is the current question and answer is equal to this one, remove, and we always take the first one, so 0. Cool. And we do that also here. By the way, that only works if we have a sorted list. If the very first element needs to be our header, else it doesn't work. All underneath of it, we can shuffle if we want to. No, I did not. I have not taken a look into the newest Firebase changes. Are there a lot? Maybe that would make sense in a Flutter news. Maybe I should create one of these again. And then with the shuffle is maybe a good idea. So what we could do is whenever we have removed that, we say question and answers map dot shuffle. If you have never heard about this shuffle method, it will now take this map or this list. By the way, it's a list. And this list will get shuffled. So each entry will be somewhere different. And with that, we don't know the order of the cards anymore. And we have to make something sure, because if this is of course the method that we want, but what we also have to check is what could happen is that the answers list is empty. So if the question answers list is empty, then we are done, right? So I don't know, to do show success. I don't know, maybe with the result on how many we have right or wrong. That would be something. Show success with result of how many right and wrong. Same thing for the opposite down here. And you see I write the code twice, which is always a very bad sign for dry. So that means I take that stuff here and I press again the refactoring, like here, refactor, and then extract the method. And then we say something like get next card. So, and with that, we can use that down here. And I can even do something different. I can replace that and remove this. Now I pass that inside and remove that. And this is now our void callback. So it could be that this changes in the future, but at the moment, we always want to do this here. And if this is empty, we return immediately. Cool. So that's everything we have to do. And actually we get an error at the moment. Okay, so hot restart. Your flashcard's getting loaded. Okay. Seems we have an issue. Where is the problem? So the questions and answer list seems to be empty. Did shuffle not work as I expected it? That seems like the case. So let's have a look. Why is it not working? Print. We take a look. Hot restart. We have a map entry, hello and hello. That looks promising actually. And we remove it at 0. We get the current question and answer. Ah, now the list is already empty and we tested against the wrong thing. So the list can be empty now. Also interesting. What does that mean for us? The list is now empty. We show the loading spinner, but actually this one is not allowed to be empty. And the R sound. Minnow, in the meantime, you can try to create a poll. Maybe you can create one. I get always problems with the, like if I say a new poll and I want to give it a name like Hello World, then I get this nice straw poll error. Like so. Maybe it could be that I have to create a new, I don't know, that we can't use Nightbot as I hoped. Cool. So current question and answer, if this one is not is unequal to null, then we can do all that. And we have to turn it around, because if it is null, then we show that, and now it is getting yellowish. Why is that the case? Can't be condition is always false. Yeah, because this one tells us it could be not null. Ah, no, that is not the reason. It's not the right. Just add loading stats. What means loading stats for you? Sorry, Mohammed. So we have it is empty. The reason is the real list is empty. That's true. Because we remove them all the time. So if this is 0, that's still valid because we could have something in our current questions. Is it possible that these questions are ever 0? I think no. Yes, but what is the loading state? So when do we show the loading spinner? I think we have that already, but we have to, and we currently do that by this is empty. So we check it against if this is empty, then we don't go to the next. But you are maybe right. Maybe we need a boolean like is empty, no more questions, no more questions, false. And whenever there are no more questions, like down here, then we put that to true. So that would be here, true. And if this is the case, then we don't show it anymore. Like so. So we have that to true. And the question is anyway, because these things are not async, we will never have the reason when we have no question at the beginning. So what we could say is not no more question, but what we can say is we are done, like finished, like all cards finished. And that is the only reason we would put that to true, I think. So if I press this or that, because we return immediately. What happens if we are all cards finished? Of course, set state, right? So set state, and we have a method that executes this one. And done. Here we go. If I hot restart, then we have it like that. I click this, I say yes, and then we are loading. And we have the buttons still there, but maybe that is a story for another part. But you're right, Mohammed. I think that was the best solution. Can it be even... I think that loading spinner doesn't make any sense because we don't really load something. We confuse our friends, our readers, I think, because this will be now more a success message, like you finished all your cards, or even better, we want to be friendly, so congratulations, my friend. Congratulations. Wow, my English, gratulations. You finished all your cards. I don't know, then the next text would be something like what we could do. Congratulations, yours that stats are, I don't know, 42% correct. Answered. And then we have some stats, and we don't need that circular progress indicator anymore in the size box. We could put maybe here inside. And with that, it looks like that. And then we need maybe a button that can restart everything. I couldn't so far. I think the reason why it doesn't work is Strawpoll has a problem. So if you go to the website of Strawpoll, you can see that the API there has an issue, and that is the reason why the Nightbot is not working correctly, unfortunately. Okay, so if this is the case, we need another button. So give me another button, the restart button. So do we have, I don't know, restart? This is food, like again, repeat, so, and if we want to repeat, then on press we do something else, we restart the list. So how do we restart the list? By just reading it again, right? So that would be the case. We have to read the whole thing again. Redo. Redo is a... Do we have also an icon called redo? Yeah, also good. Let's take redo. Okay, the only downside, if I want to reload now everything, I have to call this methods here again. So what I need to do is creating a method for that. So not restart, it would be start, or yeah, start game or start lesson, something like that. And now with this method, I can call that also here inside. Fair enough. So with that, we would recreate that. We get the file, we have the file path, we read these questions and answers. And what we have to do is probably to call... do we have to call these things too? We have to get the header and we have to shuffle the list. Yeah, I think we have to do all that stuff inside of here. Like that. Now we shuffle that and we remove that and get these things back. And this is what happens in redo 2. And what we need to do too is set state, right? So set state with an empty callback. What I also could do, because all of that is synchronous, I could take that inside of the set state method. I think that should work actually. No? No. This is not what I want to do. I want to do it like this. So that should work too. If you don't know the difference between if you write it inside of the method or beforehand, there is no real difference, because as long as you don't have an asynchronous function here inside, you are fine. If you have anything where you await to it, you get a problem because you are not allowed to have a set state that waits. So for that, you would need now to move it up the set state method. But what set state now does is it executes first these things before he re-renders the screen. So if I click on that, nothing happens. That's unfortunate. Do we get an error? No. So hot restart, maybe that helps. So I click on OK, we get this finished, and we press on this one. Nothing happens. Okay, that's not a good sign. So where's the reason? But when you do set state, it will render when click. I think I want that, or? I want to render when click. Yeah, that's the reason we do that, right? Because we need to get the new list and we have to fill everything up again with information. Else we don't show the correct screen. And we have, of course, to revert the card flipped, because that is now false. And what we also have to change is the show or finished all cards part. Where is it? Don't we have it? All cards finished, yeah. So let's see, I turn that, we finish that, we press here, and we are done. Cool. So with that, we re-render the build method, we trigger the build method whenever this start lesson happens. The only downside could be that if we hot restart the thing, that there is a re-rendering inside. So we have, at the restart, we have already a re-rendering just because of this set state here. So that could be actually an issue. Yeah, but on the other side, it seems to work fine, and that is already a pretty good sign, I guess. Okay. I think we commit again, because we have done a lot. We made it not only, we made it possible to restart the game or the lesson, and also to show a finished message. Good. I think that's already pretty good. We get this and Good. The only downside, or what we could test now, is what happens if we have another word here inside, like, I don't know. Do you have something? Tschüss. Bye. So. Hello, we say yes, and then it crashes automatically because we didn't have a rerun yet. Now, hello, we click on yes. Okay, something doesn't happen or does not work like I expected. The card is not flipped again. So when we click it, something don't work as expected. And now we are coming slowly to the problem that too much logic comes into our little bit of clicking and flipping. So all that stuff could be outside in a different service that takes care of this click. So the only downside is we would have set state inside, so we would need to do something different there. So if we click and the question answer list is not empty, we remove and we have to flip it again, like card flipped is equal to false. Because now we want to show the next element and the current answer. And why is no set state here? That is an issue, I guess, because we have to check the set state. Yep. And here inside we can also execute both of them. Yep. And I think that's what we want to do. Yep, I think that's fine. Looks already promising. So we get the German word tschüss. Because we shuffle the list at the beginning, it could be that we have different announcements first. We get bye, I press OK, we get the next question, we get next, and then we are done. Press refresh and it starts all over again. Good. That's true. Yeah. You are right. Some logic comes into the UI. That's true. I put always logic that defines and takes care of things that the UI does. Usually you can understand that whenever there is a set state, that is usually a good indication for this stuff belongs to the UI. The card flipped is something that only the UI cares about, right? Or which answer is currently active. Okay, we could have a service for that. I'm not pretty sure how we could do that. I think with a provider, for example, that keeps the state here, something like that would be a good idea. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I would also do it all the time when I can. But also there are a lot of discussions always because if you are talking, for example, with Remy Roslet, he is a fan of mixing it a bit together, but I'm also like you who says try to separate it as much as possible. Yes, some logic will be always there. That is just the reason there. Yeah, using block, as I said, I try, or as I said yesterday, I think I will use block for this package here. But we will only use it as soon as we really need it. Because at the moment there is no real benefit. Because most of the stuff is very basic and it's very easy with... it's very easy to handle that stuff. But as soon as we have multiple widgets and we need to keep the state track into multiple widgets inside of the tree, I think it makes sense to add that. But as I said, for now, we want to keep it as simple as possible. So make it very basic. Everyone can understand this app so that we can release a first version where you can create your questions inside of Google Spreadsheets and can use this app directly. So that is my goal at the end. On the other side, yeah, it is already pretty promising, I think. We have already the possibility to create the CSV files. Everyone can do it. That's pretty awesome. So we can create these CSV files, giving all the answers. What I see right now, what I don't like, but what we can fix in a second, I guess, there are some spaces behind, even though we don't see it, but we could get rid of them very easily. So whenever we return, I think that would be something that we can do inside of our read lessons from. So here inside, we split the answer and the result. And what we could do here is we could, how do you call it? There is a name for that. Yeah, I try to keep it as simple as possible for the beginning. And when we come to the point where I see the problems, then I will add them. So white space is the string without any leading and trailing white space. Yeah, thank you, AB. Nice. I see. Great minds think alike. Good, and I will also trim this one. So, and with that, we should be also fine and don't get always some white spaces in between. Good. What do we have? We have added this one where we flip the card again and we can restart everything. So I keep the commit message the same. And because I did that, I already pushed it. That was unlucky. What I could do is I could squash these two together. And what I do with that is I make out of 2 commit messages, just one, and merge them together. The only downside, and this is now really ugly, I have to do something very nasty. I have to make a force push because I changed the history here from Git. And what happens is I remove the one that is already pushed and merge these 2 together and push it now on top of it. And with that, we change the history of the branch. And this usually has some downsides. So you would never do that on the main branch like I did now. And I hope for you that in real projects, your coworker already take care of that the main branch is protected. So you are not even allowed to do so. But currently I'm still working on the main branch directly. I push everything on top of it. So with that, I'm allowed to, but don't do this at home. But maybe a good part where we can talk shortly about the protection. If we go to branches, we see already there is the main branch. And if you have here, you can add a rule. And now we can say which branch, the main branch, we can now say that we want to require status checks before it's merged. So with that, we make it necessary that the build pipeline is running. I think that would make sense for the future. And what we also could do is allow force pushes. With that, we would make it allowed, but if I don't allow it, it is not possible anymore. And with that, and this I can show you, we have something done very interesting, because if I add here now a to-do, I don't know, some stuff. And now if I want to push that, so let me say I just commit this to-do, and I'm now a nasty guy and just force push that and say, yep, do it. Because I'm administrator. Wait, I have to remove myself from the administrator, or can I permit force push for all users with push access, allow users, enforce all configuration restrictions for administrators. So I have to do that. So, and now if I remove this to do again, or even better, I just go back in the history and jump back to the point where I didn't have done this commit. So I go and revert this commit, reset current branch to here. We do it hard. So, and now I force push it. I should not be allowed to do. Yeah, you see now even in IntelliJ, he knows that I'm not allowed to force push it anymore. Okay. So everything, all of that is not necessarily good, what I did now, but just to make it my point so that you know what the reason is. I just take that away for a second and clean up my branch history again. So reset the branch to here and we force push once more. So with okay, now IntelliJ is a bit too smart for me. So git push force. Remote rejected, protected branch hook. Why does it work now? Okay, we save the changes. I'm allowed to do it. Do I have to fetch it first now? No. Okay, weird stuff. So let me remove this protected branch once more. Delete this branch. Yep, delete the rule. Now, okay. Now we add the rule again. But this is always good to know that these things exist to make it a bit better to disallow things like force push and stuff. That helps you a lot. So another thing that you could, for example, set up is the necessity to create a pull request before merging. So that would disallow me to directly work on the main branch, and it needed to force me to, hey, create a pull request, get it maybe accepted, the tests have to be run, and after that I'm allowed to merge. So for bigger projects, that makes a lot of sense, and I highly recommend that. There is a delay of 20 seconds between the moment we write a comment and you can see it. That's true. And I think the problem is the time zones, or I'm not sure. Actually, on YouTube itself, it says that I have the shortest delay. So maybe it's also just because I don't always watch on the comments, which I'm very sorry about. Yeah, but just for your info. Okay. So, what do we have in our issues? I think we finished something, right? So let's have a look into the projects. So we talked about the card is flippable. I think we have done that. And also here, next time we will also work with MRs, so with a pull request. I think that makes sense and would make the whole thing a little bit more cleaner. And then also other people will have a look into and understand what happened. So I will write that now here. Implemented the feature in. So then we know that. And we assign it to myself. And we can finish that. And I think we can also do it here and put it to done. Good. And with that, I of course have to close the MR too, the issue. Sorry, MR is merge request and comes from GitLab. GitLab is also like GitHub, very close to it, and yeah, does the same stuff more or less. Okay, so with that, we have done today a lot of things. We implemented 2 features for our list, even 3 actually. We improved our CSV reader possibility. We trimmed our white spaces. We made it more error prone with error throws whenever there happens something unwanted, like for example, a 1-column CSV file or 3-column. We wrote some tests for the whole thing. We created a build pipeline, a small one in GitHub Actions. And I am very happy with the result for today. And I think we would now be finished with the stream, if this is okay for you guys. And we will see us hopefully tomorrow once more. And I hope that I will be a bit more early. And I really hope to see you once more. Else on Thursday, there will be a new video outside that I can highly recommend you for files and folder structures, where I explain quickly, okay, hey, these are projects like Invoice Ninja. We will have a look into how the files and folders are structured there. They work with the block pattern, also how I work usually in the projects. And yeah, that is just a helper for you if you want to start with large projects in Flutter and Dart. And another option that comes soon is we have made, or Mahtab has made, a fantastic video about Objectbox, which will always also come this week or next week, where she explains a little bit about how it works, many people who are working with it and things like that, which is a local database, no SQL database with data sync. Okay, so all of that, a lot of blah blah. Thank you for watching. Until tomorrow. Bye everyone.